Captain Jake Morrison stood on the bridge of the U's Phoenix, watching the strange lights dance across the main screen. His ship had been traveling through deep space for 3 months when they detected the massive alien vessel. The thing was at least 10 times bigger than the Phoenix and shaped like a crystal flower with silver petals that seemed to glow from within. "Captain, they're sending us some kind of signal," said Katie Walsh from her communications station. She was young, but smart, and Jake trusted her skills. "It's not like anything we've ever seen before." Jake nodded and looked at his crew. Lisa Park, his science officer, was already running scans on the alien ship. Ryan Torres, his security chief, had his hand ready near the weapons controls, but wasn't touching them yet. These people had been with him for years, and he knew they would follow his orders no matter what happened. "Open a channel, Katie," Jake said. "Let's see what they want." Screen flickered and changed. Suddenly, Jake was looking at something that made his breath catch. The alien was tall and thin, with skin that looked like it was made of light blue glass. It had 4 arms and eyes that were completely black. When it spoke, the words came out in perfect English, though Jake could tell it was being translated. Somehow, "Greetings, unknown vessel," the alien said in a voice that sounded like wind chimes. "I am Ambassador Zekthera of the Centauri Alliance. We welcome you to this region of space. Please do not be afraid. We come in peace." Jake stepped forward. "I'm Captain Jake Morrison of the Earthship Phoenix. We're explorers from the planet Earth. We mean no harm." The alien's expression changed to what might have been surprise. "Earth? We have not heard of this world. Are you members of the Galactic Council?" "No," Jake said. "We've never heard of any Galactic Council. This is our first time leaving our solar system." Ambassador Zekthar seemed to discuss something with other aliens Jake couldn't see. Then the ambassador looked back at the screen. "Captain Morrison, this is a most wonderful day. We are meeting a new species for the first time in over 200 years. Would you be willing to come aboard our ship? We'd like to learn about your people and tell you about ours." Jake looked at his crew. Lisa nodded slowly. Ryan looked worried but didn't object. Katie was excited and gave him a thumbs up. Jake made his decision. "We would be honored, Ambassador," he said. An hour later, Jake found himself in a room that looked like it was made entirely of light. The walls seemed to glow with soft colors that changed as he moved. Ambassador Zekthara sat across from him, at a table that floated in the air. Other aliens were there too, all different from each other, but all seeming peaceful and calm. "Tell us about your world, Captain Morrison," said another alien, this one covered in what looked like golden fur. "What is Earth like?" Jake smiled. "Earth is beautiful. It's the 3rd planet from our sun. We have oceans and mountains and forests. The weather changes with the seasons. We have about 8 billion humans living there now." The aliens looked at each other in a way that made Jake think they were talking without words. Ambassador Zekthara leaned forward. 8 billion? That is a very large number. How do so many of your people live together in peace? Jake laughed. "Well, we don't always live in peace. We have wars sometimes. We've had 2 big world wars in the last century. There's still conflicts happening right now in some places." Room went very quiet. The aliens stopped their soft conversations and stared at Jake. Ambassador Zekthera's blue skin seemed to get darker. "Wars?" the golden-furred alien asked. "You mean your people fight each other?" "Yes," Jake said, not understanding. "Why they seemed so upset?" "Humans have always fought. It's part of our nature, I guess. But we also work together. We've built cities and sent ships to space. We've created art and music and literature." Lisa Park, who had been quiet until now, spoke up. "Our planet is what we call a Class 12 world. The gravity is strong, the weather can be dangerous, and we have large predators. Humans had to learn to fight to survive. Class 12. Ambassador Zekthera stood up quickly. "That is impossible. No intelligent life can evolve on a Class 12 world. Those are death worlds." "Death worlds?" Jake asked. "I don't understand." The ambassador began walking around the room, his movements quick and nervous. "Captain Morrison, in all our history, across thousands of species and millions of years. No intelligent life has ever evolved on a world classified above Class 7. Such worlds are too dangerous. The life forms there are too violent, too aggressive. Ryan? Torres spoke for the first time. Sir, with respect, humans have lived on Earth for thousands of years. We've built a civilization there. We're not violent monsters. Another alien, this one with purple skin and 6 eyes, made a sound like a whistle. But you said you have wars. You said you fight each other. You said you have predators on your world. Yes, Jake said slowly. But we also have families. Have friends. We help each other when there's trouble. We've learned to work together. You don't understand, Ambassador Zekthara said. The Galactic Peace Accords were created specifically to prevent species like yours from joining our civilization. Violence spreads. Aggression is contagious. We have maintained peace for 3,000 years by keeping warlike species away from our worlds. The room was getting colder, and Jake realized that the meeting was going very wrong. Ambassador, we came here in peace. We want to learn about you and share what we know. We're not here to start fights. But you are weapons, the purple alien said. You are living weapons created by a death world. You think fighting is normal? You think violence is acceptable? Lisa tried to help. We also think art is normal. We think music is acceptable. Think helping others is good. Yes, we can fight, but we can also love and create and explore. Ambassador Zekthara pressed something on his wrist. Suddenly, the room filled with a soft humming sound. Captain Morrison, I am sorry, but we cannot allow you to leave. Your ship and your crew must be contained until the Galactic Council can decide what to do with you. Jake felt his heart start beating faster. You're making a mistake. We're not a threat to you. You are the greatest threat the galaxy has ever known, the ambassador said. You are intelligent Deathworlders. You're everything we have spent thousands of years trying to prevent. The walls of the room began to glow brighter. Jake realized they were being surrounded by some kind of energy field. He looked at his crew and saw that they were all thinking the same thing. This peaceful first contact had become a trap. Katie, Jake said quietly, can you contact the Phoenix? She touched her communication device. I'm trying, Captain, but something is blocking the signal. Ryan was already moving toward the door, but it had sealed shut. We're locked in, sir. Jake looked at Ambassador Zekthara. The alien's expression was sad but determined. I am truly sorry, Captain Morrison. In different circumstances, we might have been friends. But the safety of the galaxy comes first. Species must be contained. Jake Morrison had spent his whole life exploring the unknown. He had dreamed of the day when humanity would meet other intelligent life. He had imagined sharing knowledge and friendship with aliens from distant worlds. He had never imagined that his own species would be seen as monsters. But as he looked at his crew, he saw something that the aliens had missed. He saw Lisa's brilliant mind already working on a solution. He saw Ryan's tactical training kicking in as he studied their prison. He saw Katie's determination to get them out of this mess. The aliens thought humans were weapons. Maybe they were right. But they were also underestimating what kinds of weapons humans could be. Jake smiled grimly. The galaxy was about to learn that Deathworlders didn't give up easily. The massive council chamber on Nexus Prime had never been so full. Council leader Vexandra stood at the center of the circular room, her 8 tentacles moving nervously as she looked at the hundreds of alien representatives seated around her. The emergency session had been called within hours of Ambassador Zekthara's report, and the news was spreading panic throughout the galaxy. Fellow counselors, Vexandra said, her voice carrying to every corner of the chamber, we face a crisis. Unlike any in our recorded history, a species has emerged from what our scientists classify as a Class 12 death world. They call themselves humans, and they have achieved space travel. A ripple of fear went through the assembled aliens. Species from dozens of worlds whispered to each other in their native languages. Some looked confused, others terrified. The Corvin representative, War Commander Drexsmith, stood up from his seat. Council leader, he said in his deep, growling voice, surely this is impossible. No life above basic cellular level can exist on a Class 12 world, much less intelligent life. That is what we all believed, Vexandra replied. Dr. Nitholin, our chief xenobiologist, has been studying the data. Doctor, please share your findings. Doctor. Nitholin moved to the center of the chamber. He was a tall, thin alien with silver skin and large black eyes. His people, the Vashti, were known throughout the galaxy for their scientific knowledge. When he spoke, his voice was calm but filled with worry. I have analyzed the data from Ambassador Zektharaz's encounter with the humans. I have also studied the information they provided about their home world. What I have discovered challenges everything we know about the development of intelligent life. The doctor touched a control device, and a holographic image appeared above the chamber. It showed a blue and green planet with white clouds swirling around it. To most of the aliens, it looked beautiful and peaceful. This is Earth, Dr. Nitholin said. At first glance, it appears to be a normal Class 7 world, suitable for life. But when we examine it more closely, we see the truth. The image changed, showing massive storms with lightning that could destroy entire cities. Then it showed earthquakes that split the ground open. Then floods that covered vast areas of land. Then fires that burned for days without stopping. The weather systems on this world are incredibly violent, the doctor continued. They have storms that can level forests and floods that can destroy whole regions. The planet's surface is constantly changing due to massive geological activity. Earthquakes and volcanic eruptions are common. The image changed again, showing various Earth animals. The aliens in the chamber made sounds of fear and disgust as they saw lions hunting zebras, sharks attacking seals, and other predators in action. But the weather is not the worst part, Dr. Nitholin said. This world is filled with predators, massive carnivores that hunt and kill for food. Some of these creatures are larger than our largest vehicles. They have teeth and claws, designed for tearing flesh. They hunt in packs and show no mercy to their prey. A delegate from the peaceful Alari species stood up. Speaker Ethmaran was known for her wisdom and calm nature, but even she looked disturbed by what she was seeing. Doctor, she said, how did any life survive on such a world? How did intelligence develop in such conditions? Dr. Nitholin's expression became even more serious. That is the most troubling part, Speaker Ethmiran. Intelligence on this world developed not despite the violence, but because of it. The humans evolved to be predators themselves. They learned to hunt, to fight, to kill. They developed tools and weapons. They organized into groups that wage war against each other. The chamber erupted in shocked voices. Some aliens stood up and began shouting questions. Others seemed to be preparing to leave. War Commander Drexmoth slammed his fist on his desk. This proves what the Corvin Empire has always said, he roared. Not all species can be trusted with civilization. These humans are exactly the kind of threat the peace accords were designed to prevent. Meanwhile, far away on Earth, Dr. Henry Coleman was working frantically in his laboratory at the Deep Space Communications Array. The massive radio telescopes outside his window were pointed toward the stars, trying to receive any signal from the Phoenix. It had been 6 hours since the last transmission, and Henry was getting worried. Dr. Coleman called his assistant, a young woman named Beth Martinez. I'm picking up something on the emergency frequency. Henry rushed to her console. The signal was weak and filled with static, but he could make out parts of the message. It was Katie Walsh's voice speaking in short, urgent bursts. Earth Control, this is Phoenix. We are being held by alien forces. They consider us a threat. Repeat, they consider humans a threat. They have a large military force and seem to fear us. Our situation is dangerous. We'll attempt to escape and return home. The signal cut off, leaving only static. Henry stared at the console, his mind racing. He had dreamed of first contact with aliens for his entire career, but this was not how he had imagined it would happen. Beth, get me Director Hayes at the Defense Initiative, now. Within minutes, Henry was speaking to Director Susan Hayes, the head of Earth's military space program. Susan was a tough woman who had spent her career preparing for the possibility of hostile alien contact. She listened to Henry's report without interruption. So let me understand this, Susan said when he finished. The aliens have captured our people because they think we're dangerous? What exactly did our crew tell them? According to the partial transmission, they learned about Earth's history, about our wars, our predators, our violent weather. The aliens apparently classify Earth as something called a death world. Susan was quiet for a moment. Dr. Coleman, I want you to keep trying to contact the Phoenix. I'm calling an emergency. Meeting of the World Defense Council? If these aliens think we're a threat, we need to be prepared for what that might mean. Back on Nexus Prime, the council session was growing more chaotic. Dr. Nathellan was trying to continue his presentation, but the aliens were too upset to listen calmly. Finally, Council Leader Vexandra used her authority to restore order. Please continue, she said. We need to understand the full scope of this threat. Dr. Nathellan nodded. The humans have developed technologies that reflect their violent nature. They have weapons designed to kill large numbers of their own kind. They have vehicles designed for war. Even their space exploration program appears to be connected to their military forces. But most disturbing of all, he continued, is their psychology. They seem to view violence as normal. They accept conflict as a natural part of life. Have created entertainment that glorifies war and fighting. They teach their children that violence is sometimes necessary. Speaker Ethmeron stood up again. Doctor, surely there must be some positive aspects to their civilization. They achieve space travel, which requires cooperation and intelligence. That is true, Dr. Nathellan admitted. The humans do show signs of cooperation within their groups. They appear to care for their families and work together on large projects. But their history shows that this cooperation is always temporary. They always return to conflict eventually. War Commander Drexmoth stood up again. Council Leader, the solution is obvious. We must act quickly before this threat can spread. The humans must be contained or eliminated before they can corrupt our peaceful civilization. Wait, said Speaker Ethmeron. We should not rush to judgment. Perhaps we can find a way to help them overcome their violent nature. Help them? Drexmoth laughed harshly. Speaker Ethmeron, you cannot help a predator stop being a predator. It is their nature. They are weapons that walk and talk and think. They are everything our civilization has worked to prevent. The debate continued for hours. Some aliens argued for immediate military action. Others wanted to try diplomacy. A few suggested that the humans should be quarantined on their own world and left alone. But as the arguments went on, one thing became clear to everyone in the chamber. The discovery of humanity had changed everything. The peaceful galaxy that had existed for thousands of years was now facing its greatest challenge. The age of galactic peace was ending, and no one knew what would come next. Captain Jake Morrison felt the Phoenix shake as another energy blast hit their shields. Through the bridge windows, he could see the massive alien fleet surrounding them. There were at least 50 ships, each one bigger than his vessel, all painted in the same silver and blue colors of the Galactic Enforcement Division. Shields down to 60%, Ryan Torres reported from his station. Captain, we can't take much more of this. Jake gripped his command chair as the ship shook again. They had been running for 2 days, trying to find a way back to Earth. But the aliens seemed to be everywhere. Every time they thought they had found a clear path, more ships appeared to block their way. Katie, any luck with communications? Jake asked. Katie Walsh shook her head. They're jamming everything, sir. I can't even get a signal through to Earth, much less talk to the alien fleet. Lisa Park looked up from her science station. Captain, I'm reading a massive energy buildup from the lead ship. I think they're preparing to use some kind of weapon we haven't seen before. Jake made a quick decision. Ryan, plot a course through the Kepler asteroid field. Maximum speed. Sir, that's suicide, Ryan said. The asteroids are too dense. We'll be smashed to pieces. Maybe, Jake said. But we grew up dodging space debris and meteor showers. These aliens have been flying in empty space for thousands of years. They won't follow us in there. The Phoenix dove toward the asteroid field, weaving between massive rocks that spun slowly in the darkness. Behind them, the alien fleet hesitated. Admiral Quinthros, the commander of the Galactic Enforcement Division, watched from his flagship as the human ship disappeared into the dangerous maze of stone and metal. "Admiral," said his second-in-command, "should we follow them?" Gwynthros was a tall, blue-skinned alien with 4 arms and large, intelligent eyes. He had spent his entire career keeping peace in the galaxy, but he had never faced anything like the humans before. "No," he said finally. "We will wait. They cannot hide in there forever. When they come out, we will be ready." But Jake Morrison had no intention of coming out. Instead, he led his ship deeper into the asteroid field. Using the Phoenix's smaller size and more agile engines to navigate through spaces that would crush the larger alien vessels, it was dangerous work, but it was exactly the kind of flying that humans had learned to do in the crowded space around Earth. Meanwhile, on Earth, director Susan Hayes was in the middle of the biggest crisis of her career. The Emergency Earth Defense Coalition had been meeting for 18 hours straight, and the news was getting worse by the hour. "The second contact team has gone silent," reported General Robert Clark, a gray-haired man who had spent 40 years in the military. "The UES Endeavour was approaching the Alpha Centauri system when we lost contact." Susan rubbed her tired eyes. "How long ago?" 6 hours. Same pattern as the Phoenix. They were reporting normal operations. Then suddenly, nothing. Admiral Patricia Bell, the commander of Earth's small space fleet, leaned forward in her chair. "Susan, we have to face facts. The aliens aren't just holding our people, they're actively hunting them." Susan nodded grimly. "What's the status of our defenses?" "We've got 12 ships that can fight in space," Admiral Bell said, "plus the orbital defense platforms around Earth and the moon bases against a galactic civilization that's been around for thousands of years. It's not much. It's what we have," Susan replied. "And humans have won fights against worse odds before." On the other side of the galaxy, Captain Alex Murphy was discovering just how bad those odds were. His ship, the UES Endeavour, had been exploring a distant star system when the alien patrol fleet found them. Unlike Jake Morrison's peaceful first contact, this meeting had turned violent immediately. "They're not even trying to talk," said Laura Bennett, the Endeavour security chief. "They just started shooting the moment they saw us." Alex ducked as sparks flew from a damaged console. "Pete, how are the engines?" Pete Rodriguez, the ship's engineer, was crawling under a control panel with tools in his hands. "Still working, but barely. These aliens have weapons we've never seen before. They're tearing us apart." Alex looked at the tactical display. 5 alien ships were attacking his lone vessel, but something strange was happening. The aliens seemed to be following some kind of pattern, taking turns to attack and then pulling back. It was like they were fighting according to rules that the humans didn't understand. "Laura," Alex said, "forget everything you know about fair fighting. We're going to hit them like pirates." Laura grinned. "Now you're talking my language, Captain." The Endeavour suddenly changed its tactics. Instead of trading shots with the aliens, in the open space, it dove toward the nearest planet, using the gravity well to increase its speed. The alien ships followed. They were still fighting according to their ancient rules of engagement. Alex used every dirty trick he could think of. He fired at the aliens while hiding behind the planet's moons. He used the planet's magnetic field to disrupt their sensors. He even flew directly at one of the alien ships, forcing it to swerve away at the last second, while he blasted it with everything he had. The alien commander, a proud warrior named Kethver, watched in horror as his fleet was picked apart by tactics he had never seen before. The humans fought without honor, without rules, without any sense of proper combat procedure. They were like wild animals, striking from shadows and running when faced with a fair fight. "They're not warriors," Kethver said to his crew. "They're bandits. They're pirates. They have no honor." But the humans were winning. 3 of the alien ships were already destroyed and the other 2 were damaged. Endeavour was hurt too, but it was still fighting. Captain Pete called out, "I've got an idea. These aliens use some kind of energy shields, right? What if we overload our reactor and ram one of them?" Alex looked at his crew. They were all young, all volunteers who had signed up to explore the stars. Now they were talking about suicide attacks against aliens who seemed to think humans were monsters. "Do it," Alex said. "But first, we send a message to Earth. Tell them what we learned here. Tell them the aliens shoot first and ask questions. Later, the message was sent in a burst transmission that cut through the alien jamming. Then the Endeavor turned toward the largest alien ship and began its final attack run. Back on Earth? Susan Hayes received the message just as the world defends. Council was voting on whether to try diplomatic contact with the aliens. The recording of Captain Murphy's voice was clear and urgent. Earth Control, this is Captain Murphy of the Endeavor. We are under attack by alien forces. They fired without warning, without trying to communicate. I repeat, they attacked us without provocation. The aliens consider us hostile. We are going to ram their flagship. Tell everyone back home that we tried to be peaceful, but they wouldn't. Let us Earth must prepare for war. The transmission ended. The council chamber was silent for a long moment. Then General Clark stood up. "There's your answer about diplomacy," he said. "You're not interested in talking. They want us dead." Susan looked around the room at the faces of Earth's leaders. She saw fear, but she also saw determination. Humans had faced extinction before and survived. They would do it again. "Ladies and gentlemen," she said, "we are now at war with a galactic civilization. God help us all." In space, the Phoenix was still hiding in the asteroid field. Jake Morrison watched the alien fleet on his sensors, waiting for their next move. He didn't know that Earth was preparing for war. He didn't know that the Endeavor had been destroyed. All he knew was that he had to get his crew home safely. But the aliens were learning too. Admiral Quinthros had received reports of the attack on the Endeavor. The humans had fought with tactics that no civilized species would use. They were exactly as dangerous as the Council had feared. "Send word to Nexus Prime," the Admiral ordered. "Tell them that the human threat is real. Tell them we need more ships." Many more ships. The war between Earth and the galaxy was about to begin, and both sides were convinced that they were fighting for their survival. The largest fleet in galactic history appeared at the edge of Earth's solar system like a dark cloud blocking out the stars. Admiral Quinthros stood on the bridge of his massive flagship, looking at the small blue planet that had caused so much fear throughout the galaxy. Around him, thousands of ships from dozens of worlds waited for his orders. "Send the message," Admiral Quinthros commanded. On Earth. Every radio, television, and communication device received the same transmission at the same time. The alien admiral's image appeared on screens around the world. His forearms spread wide in what might have been a gesture of authority. "People of Earth," the admiral's translated voice said, "I am Admiral Quinthros of the Galactic Enforcement Division. Your species has been deemed a threat to galactic peace and stability.
No.
You will surrender unconditionally and accept relocation to a containment world where you can no longer harm innocent civilizations. You have 24 hours to respond." In the emergency command center beneath the Rocky Mountains, President Martha Stevens stood before a room full of military leaders and advisors. She was a small woman with gray hair, but her voice was strong when she spoke. "Send our reply on all frequencies," she said. "Admiral Quinthros, this is President Martha Stevens of Earth. We reject your demands. Earth is our home, and we will defend it. We did not start this conflict, but we will not run from it." The message was broadcast to the alien fleet. Admiral Quinthros received it with sadness, but no surprise. The Deathworlders were responding exactly as expected, with violence and defiance. "Begin the attack," he ordered. The first battle took place near Jupiter's moons. Admiral Patricia Bell commanded Earth's small defense fleet from her flagship, the EDS Defiance. She had 12 combat ships, a few dozen mining vessels that had been armed with whatever weapons they could carry, and a desperate plan that might give them a chance. Remember, she broadcast to her fleet, "We can't match their firepower, but we know this system better than they do. Use everything you can. Asteroids, gravity wells, radiation fields. Make them fight our kind of battle." The alien vanguard consisted of 50 massive warships, each one capable of destroying a city. They moved in perfect formation, their shields glowing with protective energy. Their commander, Sub-Admiral Vexcall, expected an easy victory against the primitive humans. But the humans didn't fight the way the aliens expected. Instead of meeting them in open battle, the Earth ships scattered in all directions. Some hid behind Jupiter's moons, others dove into the planet's radiation belt, and a few actually flew directly into the swirling storms of the gas giant itself. "What are they doing?" Vexkull asked his tactical officer. "This is not how space combat works." Captain Jake Morrison had finally made it back to Earth just in time for the battle. He led a squadron of fighters that had been hastily armed with nuclear missiles. Instead of attacking the alien ships directly, he flew his squadron into Jupiter's magnetic field, using the radiation to hide from alien sensors. "Wait for it," Jake told his pilots. "Let them get closer to the planet." The alien ships followed, the human fighters trying to corner them in what they thought was a trap. But Jake was leading them exactly where he wanted them to go. When the alien formation was deep in Jupiter's gravitational field, he gave the order. "Now, hit their engines." The human fighters came screaming out of the radiation storm, firing their missiles at the alien ship's engine sections. The aliens were caught completely off guard. Several ships lost power and began falling toward Jupiter's crushing atmosphere. Others were damaged and spinning out of control. Meanwhile, Commander Helen Torres was leading the mining ships in an attack that the aliens never saw coming. She had loaded the cargo holds of the big mining vessels with explosives and sent them on autopilot toward the alien fleet. "Remote mining charges set for maximum yield," she reported to Admiral Bell. "The aliens think they're rescue ships trying to reach Jupiter." The aliens did exactly what Helen expected, following their rules of civilized warfare. They tried to disable the rescue ships rather than destroy them. They used low-power weapons designed to stop the ships without killing the crews inside. The mining ships exploded like gigantic bombs, taking 3 alien warships with them and damaging several others. The aliens realized too late that the humans were using their own compassion against them. On the surface of Earth, Dr. Henry Coleman was working with a team of scientists and engineers to develop new weapons and defenses. The pressure of possible extinction was driving human innovation to incredible heights. "We need something these aliens haven't seen before," Henry said to his team. "They've been fighting wars for thousands of years, but they've been fighting civilized wars. We need to think like humans." Dr. Sarah Kim, a weapons specialist, looked up from her computer. "What about kinetic bombardment? Simple rocks dropped from orbit at high speed." "Too slow," said engineer Carl Davis. "But what about using their own technology against them? We've been studying the wreckage from the Phoenix encounter. Their shields are designed to stop energy weapons, but they might be weak against physical attacks." Henry nodded. "Keep working on it. Need every advantage we can get." Back at Jupiter, the battle was turning into a nightmare for the aliens. The humans fought like nothing they had ever encountered. Earth ships would ram alien vessels, using their own destruction as weapons. Human fighters would fly kamikaze missions into alien gun positions. Mining ships packed with explosives would pretend to be damaged and then detonate when the aliens tried to capture them. Lieutenant Commander Steve Parker was piloting one of the last Earth fighters when he saw his chance. An alien dreadnought was moving toward Earth, its massive guns preparing to bombard the planet. Steve's fighter was damaged, and his weapons were almost empty, but he had 1 nuclear missile left. "This is Parker to all Earth forces," he broadcast. "I'm going to ram that dreadnought. Tell my wife I love her." Steve flew his fighter directly at the alien ship's bridge, firing his last missile at point-blank range before his ship smashed into the alien hull. The explosion tore through the dreadnought's command center, sending the massive ship spinning helplessly through space. Admiral Quinthros watched the battle reports with growing horror. His fleet was winning, but the cost was terrible. The humans were destroying 2 or 3 alien ships for every Earth vessel lost. They fought with a desperation and creativity that the civilized galaxy had never seen. Admiral, his communications officer, reported, "We're receiving surrender requests from some of our damaged ships." "The humans are. They're rescuing alien survivors." Quinthros was confused. "What do you mean?" "The Earth ships are pulling our people out of damaged vessels, sir. They're giving medical aid to wounded aliens. We're treating our crews as prisoners of war instead of killing them." This made no sense to the Admiral. The humans were supposed to be savage Deathworlders who killed without mercy. But they were saving alien lives even in the middle of a desperate battle for their own survival. The battle ended with the aliens holding the field, but it was a victory that felt like defeat. Half of the alien vanguard was destroyed or damaged, while the Earth fleet was completely gone. But the humans had bought time for their planet's defenses, and they had shown the galaxy something it had never expected. As the alien fleet regrouped and prepared for the assault on Earth itself, Admiral Quinthros found himself thinking about the human prisoners his ships had rescued. They were polite, cooperative, and concerned about the welfare of their alien captives. They didn't seem like monsters at all. "Prepare for orbital bombardment," he ordered, but his voice lacked its earlier confidence. Not what he had expected, and this war was becoming something he didn't understand. On Earth, the survivors of the Jupiter battle were hailed as heroes. Their sacrifice had given the planet's defenders crucial intelligence about alien tactics and technology. Dr. Coleman and his team were already working on new weapons based on what they had learned. President Designs addressed the world one last time before the final battle began. "The aliens think we're monsters because we come from a dangerous world. They're wrong. We're not monsters. We're survivors. We're going to show them what that means." Above Earth, the alien fleet prepared for what they believed would be the final battle. But Admiral Quinthros was beginning to wonder if the real monsters in this war were the ones who had declared it in the first place. The siege of Earth had lasted for 3 weeks, and both sides were bleeding. Admiral Quinthros stood on his bridge, looking down at the blue planet that had cost him half his fleet. The orbital defense platforms around Earth were still fighting. Protected by energy shields and armed with weapons that the humans had built in desperate haste, Admiral, his tactical officer, reported, "The humans have destroyed another supply convoy. They're using small ships to attack our rear lines." Quinthros nodded grimly. The Deathworlders kept finding new ways to hurt his fleet. They used suicide, attacks, booby traps, and tactics that no civilized species would consider. But they also kept rescuing his people when their ships were damaged. It made no sense. On Earth's orbital defense station Alpha, Captain Jake Morrison was leading the desperate defense. He had been promoted after his escape from the alien ship, and now he commanded one of humanity's last strongholds. His crew was exhausted, running on coffee and determination. "Captain," reported Lieutenant Tom Brady, "we're down to our last nuclear missiles. The aliens are preparing for another assault." Jake looked at his tactical display. The alien fleet surrounded Earth like a metal wall, but they had learned to respect human ingenuity. They stayed far back, using long-range weapons instead of closing for a final attack. "Keep fighting," Jake told his crew. "Every hour we hold out is another hour for the diplomats to work." Far from the battle, in a secret location that neither side knew about, an impossible meeting was taking place. Dr. Litharina, the alien researcher who had studied human behavior, was sitting across from Dr. Henry Coleman in a small conference room. Between them sat Speaker Ethmeron of the peaceful Alari species, and General Robert Clark, one of Earth's top military leaders. Dr. Coleman, Litharina said in her soft, musical voice, "I have spent weeks studying your people's behavior during this war. What I have found challenges everything we believed about Deathworlders." Henry leaned forward. "What do you mean?" "Your species does fight with incredible violence," the alien scientist said, "but you also show remarkable compassion. You rescue enemy survivors. You treat prisoners well. You sacrifice yourselves to protect others. These are not the actions of monsters." General Clark spoke up. "We've been trying to tell you that from the beginning. Humans aren't evil. We're just products of a harsh world." Speaker Ethmeron, whose people had arranged this secret meeting, looked thoughtful. "Perhaps we have made a terrible mistake. Perhaps the ability to fight does not make a species inherently evil. Question is," Dr. Litharina said, "can we stop this war before both sides destroy each other?" The meeting had been arranged through back channels after Dr. Litharina had contacted Earth's communication networks. She had convinced Speaker Ethmeron that there might be another way to resolve the conflict. Now they had to convince their respective governments. Back in space, the war was about to take a dangerous turn. War Commander Drexmoth of the Corvon Empire had arrived with a secret weapon that even Admiral Quinthros didn't know about. The massive ship hung at the edge of the solar system, its hull black as space itself. War Commander, his second in Candor, reported, "The Planet Killer is ready to fire." Drexmoth smiled with his sharp teeth. "Excellent. We will end this threat once and for all. No more debates about whether the Deathworlders can be redeemed. We will simply remove them from existence." The Planet Killer was an ancient weapon, forbidden by galactic law for thousands of years, could crack a planet's crust and make the world uninhabitable. Drexmoth had convinced a small group of extremists that desperate times called for desperate measures. Admiral Quinthros received word of Drexmoth's presence just as the Planet Killer began charging its weapon. The Admiral realized with horror what the Corvin commander intended to do. "Open a channel to the Corvin ship," he ordered. "War Commander, you will power down that weapon immediately. We're here to contain the humans, not commit genocide." Admiral Drexmoth replied, "You have had your chance to solve this problem. Your methods have failed. Now, we will solve it properly." On Earth, every sensor array detected the massive energy buildup from the mysterious ship. President Stevens was in the command bunker when the report came in. "Damn President, Admiral," Bell said. "Our scientists think it's some kind of planet-destroying weapon. If it fires, Earth is finished." Martha Stevens looked around the room at her advisors. They had fought bravely, but they couldn't fight a weapon that could destroy their entire world. "Send a message to all our ships," she said quietly. "Tell them it's been an honor to serve with them." But Jake Morrison wasn't ready to give up. From his defense station, he could see both the alien siege fleet and the mysterious black ship in the distance. An impossible idea began forming in his mind. "Brady," he said, "open a channel to Admiral Quinthros." "All frequencies, sir." "Just do it." When the channel opened, Jake spoke directly to the alien admiral. "Admiral, this is Captain Morrison. I know you can hear me. That ship isn't yours, is it? It's going to destroy my planet, but you don't want that to happen?" Quinthros was surprised to hear from the human captain. "Captain Morrison, I remember you from our first meeting. You're correct. The weapon is not under my command." "Then help us stop it," Jake said simply. "Work with us." For a moment, there was silence on all channels. Then Admiral Quinthros made a decision that would change galactic history. "All ships, this is Admiral Quinthros. Target the Corvin vessel. This is in violation of galactic law. We will not permit genocide." The space around Earth erupted in a three-way battle. Human defense platforms and orbital ships fought alongside alien warships against Drexmoth's forces. Jake Morrison found himself coordinating attacks with the same admiral who had been trying to destroy Earth just hours before. "Admiral Jake, broadcast. We can get small ships through their shields. Cover us." "Understood, Captain." "My ships will provide suppressing fire." The battle was desperate and chaotic. Drexmoth's forces were outnumbered, but they fought with fanatical determination. The Planet Killer continued charging its weapon, counting down to Earth's destruction. Dr. Litharina and the secret negotiating team watched the battle from their hidden location. "We have to do something," Henry said. "Our people are working together up there. This could be the chance we need." Speaker Ethmiran activated her communication device. "This is Speaker Ethmiran of the Alari broadcasting on all frequencies. I call for an immediate ceasefire. Representatives of both sides are meeting in peace. There is another way to resolve this conflict." The message reached both fleets just as human and alien ships launched a final coordinated assault on the planet. Killer. Jake Morrison led a squadron of fighters that included both human and alien pilots. Together, they penetrated the weapon's defenses and destroyed its power core just seconds before it could fire. War Commander Drexmoth's ship exploded in a brilliant flash of light, taking the threat of planetary destruction with it. In the aftermath, the combined human and alien fleet floated in space. It's no longer enemies, but not yet friends. Admiral Quinthros opened a channel to the Earth Defense Forces. "Captain Morrison, I believe we need to talk." The formal negotiations took place on a neutral space station at the edge of the solar system. Representatives from the Galactic Council met with Earth's leaders to work out a new arrangement that no one had imagined possible just weeks before. The new Galactic Accords, Speaker Ethmiran announced, will establish Earth as a protectorate of the Galactic Council. Humans will maintain their independence, but will work with us to defend against external threats. Dr. Litharina had convinced the Council that humanity's capacity for violence could be channeled into protection rather than destruction. Every peaceful civilization needs guardians, she explained. The humans can be those guardians. President Stevens signed the accords on behalf of Earth. Accept this responsibility. We will use our strength to protect peace, not destroy it. The ceremony concluded with an unexpected moment. Captain Jake Morrison and Admiral Quinthros shook hands, human and alien working together for the first time. It was a small gesture, but it represented a new beginning for both species. Captain, the Admiral said, I misjudged your people. You are not monsters. You are exactly what the galaxy needs. Jake smiled. Admiral, we're just humans. When we have to, but we'd rather explore and learn. Maybe now we can do both. 6 months later, the first joint human-alien exploration mission launched from Earth. Captain Morrison commanded the ship, with Admiral Quinthros serving as his diplomatic advisor. Their mission was to explore the dangerous regions beyond the Galactic Rim, places where only Deathworlders would dare to go. As their ship left Earth's orbit, Jake looked back at his blue homeworld. It was still a dangerous planet full of storms and predators and violence. But it was also a world that had produced people, capable of great courage and compassion. The galaxy had learned that peace was not the absence of the capacity for war, but the wisdom to know when to fight and when to forgive. And humanity had found its place among the stars, not as conquerors or destroyers, but as guardians of a peace that was stronger because it was defended by those who understood the true cost of losing it.